welcome to my studio.
Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Fiona and I'm a full-time artist. And on this channel, I like to take you with me on my artistic journey, whether that means working on projects here in my studio, going out to see art exhibits, buying art supplies and sharing my haul with you, basically any art-related content. So if that sounds like something you're into, please like and subscribe. It's one free click for you, but makes a big difference for my channel, and I would really appreciate it. Okay friends, I'm excited to share with you another studio tour. Over the summer, I went and I visited several artist friends, filmed them and their space, and I'm just so excited to share them here with you on my channel. Me personally, I'm working on my holiday stuff, so that's why I'm gonna be a little bit MIA, but I hope you enjoy these videos in the meanwhile. So today I'm excited to share with you my friend Meagan Jain. I met her through the other art fair. She was a booth mate like diagonally across from me, and it's always that thing when you're at the fair, you see people setting up, and she was one of those that when I saw her booth set up, I just immediately connected with her work. And when I went over and we had a little bit of a chat, I just realized she had such a beautiful spirit. She's so kind, she's so generous with her knowledge, and I think you're gonna find her work really fascinating. She works a lot with symbols, abstractions of the female form, and she has a lot to say about it that I think you're just going to love. So I'm gonna stop talking and let you get into it. Let's do it. All right, thank you for having us in your space. Want to do a little introduction to yourself and your work?
Yes. My name is Meagan. I am a mirror designer and painter, and we're in my studio here in Brooklyn, in Bushwick, New York, and I work a lot with mirrors and symbols. This is one of my paintings where I combined a mirror and my paintings using my portal and this kind of uteral thing. So a lot of my work you'll see as we do the studio tour is imagery that's very eonic, very vulva-esque, and it really exists to amplify and beautify our experience of our body and to create a new symbolic language of how we communicate with each other and to kind of reinvent ideas of the body, symbols, feminism, yeah, all these things.
I love that. I love that.
I love working in mirrors because there's a functionality to them. They toe the line of art and design and functionality. You can use them. And there's also a participation that the viewer has with the work. You become a part of the mirror and the mirror has a conversation with you. And all of the mirrors are symbolic interpretations of different concepts or different themes. As you can see, they all have these very kind of curvaceous, undulating, curves and movements to them. I like to work with natural materials because I love the earth, I love nature, I love natural woods and natural materials. And my signature symbol is the portal. The portal is a symbol I developed a couple of years ago, and it just really felt, I don't know how else to describe it other than like if I was a symbol, I would be the portal. And the portal is the symbol of potential. It's like at any moment you can step into the portal of potential. You can shapeshift, you can change. Everything can alter in a moment's notice. You can build the life that you want, be the person that you want right now. You can step into that portal of potential. I love working with multiple materials. This is wood, acrylic, and then it's backlit with LED lights. There is this kind of pull luminescence with this mirror, which I think is really fun. All of the other mirrors have a lot of layers to them. They are in some ways sculptural. They have this sculptural element to them. This is a duo mirror, Lakshmi and Vishnu. They are Hindu gods. I'm half Indian. So you can also see in the mirrors there's a lot of like Indian kind of like henna, vibes to them. There is a lot of that influence in my work. This was the prototype of my silhouette mirror. This is one of my most popular selling mirrors. Everybody loves the silhouette mirror. I have the silhouette mirror, and then I don't have an every woman mirror here, but the every woman mirror is one that I have here, and it has a face. So they're slightly different. This is like a silhouette, and then this is the every woman mirror. I came from figuration. I spent many, many years as a figurative artist, and I think there's something very beautiful about the silhouette of the body. And even though a lot of my newer work is symbols, it's still in reference to the body in many ways. And so I've just kind of moved a little bit more towards abstraction and symbolism, but I really had my beginnings as a figurative artist. So this is how I cut. All of these pieces that you see here are cut in this machine. So all of these mirrors, like you get all of these like amazing detailed cuts from this here, and these are the pieces of acrylic and wood that I use to cut, so you can kind of see here.
Amazing.
And so when I have leftover pieces, I put them in this, and I just keep them in here. There's a bunch of crazy different shapes in here. There's a lot of portals. There's a clitoris.
Hell yeah.
And what else is there? There's just a bunch of like stuff in here. There's experiments from things that I've kind of been experimenting with. And then I take these, and these are how I make these pieces here. These are all like a combination. It's kind of like a collage with all of these leftover shapes that I have. So these mirrors are a lot more planned in a way. I really think through them, and these have a lot of spontaneity in them because I'm just kind of like going through this box here and like putting things together. And these always come out to be my favorite because they have this unplanned creativity to them. I'm not thinking so much about these pieces. I just like to kind of put them together, and I always love how they come out. Like they kind of come out as I'm working on them. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes as an artist, you can really paralyze yourself with overthinking something. And
paralysis of analysis.
Yes, paralysis of analysis. So when I'm making these like collage-esque pieces, there is a lot of fun in them. So everything really starts here in the laser cutter for the mirrors.
Can I ask real quick?
Yeah.
How did you learn to use this? Because I mean, I don't know how to use it.
Yeah, a lot of trial and error, a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of like weird internet forums where it's like you feel like you're on a website of like 1992 and people are like asking questions, but a lot of trial and error. And I feel like the way that I've learned to use it is probably like, I think there are probably shortcuts that make it a lot easier, but this is the way that I do it.
You're self-taught.
Yeah, very much self-taught. So basically what you do is like, so a lot of my designs start as a sketch. So what I do is I take a piece of trace paper and then I fold it into fours, and then I draw on one side of the fours, and then I trace it on the other pieces, so I get something kind of symmetrical. Mm-hmm. And then I take that and then I kind of color that. So like there is an example here. And then I digitize this. So I I redraw it in Procreate on my iPad.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go from my iPad and I convert it into a file that the laser cutter can read.
Yeah.
And then I experiment with cutting. And a lot of the cutting is like very trial and error because you don't think about your layers when you're painting, but when you're converting something into a digital file, you have to think about the layers.
It's almost like printmaking in that sense. Like
Yes.
printmaking, you have to think about that, how things will stack in the color
It's very much
layers.
the same, except in digital format. So there's a lot of, there's just so much trial and error. So like this is an example of like a drawing that was converted to a digital file. And then to print this mirror, like basically each layer, each print or each cut rather has to be a different file. So like you have the drawing that's one layer, right? But then I have the back, which is one layer, and then the mirror, which is one layer, and then this design, which is one layer. So you're basically taking it and you're expanding every layer to have multiple layers, and then you cut them individually.
I see.
And then you kind of put it together. There's a lot of like technical step-by-steps, and like I'm kind of a chaotic painter sometimes and like artist. Like I like to be a little bit messy, and I'm not so much like a step-by-step thinker, and so the cutting and the laser cutter has really helped me think through A through Z before I start, and then I have to like trial and error with it. So there's a lot, like there's also just a lot of like failed experiments in here that didn't really work out because I didn't layer properly, and that's also kind of what this is. But then some of my best pieces come out from that. So it all kind of works out. Like they just are very experimental. It's really where I let my creative curiosity guide me and where I really let myself play. And I think that element of play you can really feel in the pieces where they have that kind of light and airy feeling.
Yeah.
Where they're just kind of like, I don't know, there's something, I don't want to say like ethereal because it's not the right word, but they're light, they just work. I don't know how else to describe it. Like they just have that balance. Yeah. And if I think too much about it, they're not going to have the balance.
It's almost like, I don't know if you have this, but as a painter, that you can overwork a painting.
Yes.
Whereas this, you get into a dialogue with the piece emerges, and then it tells you what it is. It's not like you're like, I've thought of something and this is what you're going to be.
Well, that's like what this is, right? Like this painting was very much, I had to sketch it out and then I had to paint it. Like I had a very delineated and specific idea of what this was going to be. Like you can experiment with the colors and the shading and your brush strokes and things like that, but there's so much less spontaneity in this painting because of exactly what you were saying, where like I had the sketch, I had the idea, I knew I wanted it to be like a uteral painting. It was very narrow. There was no spontaneity in this painting. I mean, it was a very thought out painting, so there's not so much I can like move around in it. Like this is the way that it's always going to be, unless I change my mind completely of the painting.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like this is a painting in progress, and like I've already marked my lines. This is what I will be painting. There's less opportunity to like play around with it. Like you can play around with the concept in your mind before you do it. You can play around with the
colors,
idea and the colors,
the texture.
But when you're working with these like individual pieces of like material that aren't adhering to something already, you can really play around with the shapes. And it's in some ways easier to do when you already have the shape in hand. Whereas with these, I'm like, the shape is in my mind and then I have to like draw it out. Whereas these are like, I already have the shape. So I'm just kind of playing around with them in like a more spontaneous way. I think with a painting, things are a little bit more fixed. Like this is how it's going to look unless I repaint it. which these are all in progress. They're not finished at all. And the pink area is where I think I'm gonna put a mirror. I love the interactive quality of mirrors. There's a vanity to them that I think is really compelling. People love to look at themselves.
Totally makes me think of Yayoi Kusama, her infinity mirror rooms,
Yeah.
even Narcissus Garden.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, people just love to see themselves in the work.
Yeah. It's
literally
interactive.
and, you know.
Yeah, it's interactive. There's a conversation that you have with it. But these are like, this is like set, right? Like and these are all, I think also, my mirrors are conceptual in a bigger way, because they have those kind of conceptual underpinnings of like reflection and symbolism.
Absolutely.
But the paintings have, I think, more of a concept behind them, right? Like this one is about snakes and how snakes are very demonized in so many organized religions and Abrahamic religions, and like the portal is very Eonic and very kind of vulva-esque. And so this one has a lot of like conceptual underpinning to it, so I really think about them more. Whereas those more sculptural mirrors, they're not so much guided by that heavy thought. They're a little bit more like experimental, and I want them to be more design, and I want them to be, put in spaces where design is the focus. With all art, right? Like you can, as the artist, create something with meaning, and then the person looking at the mirror is going to have their own interpretation always. So it's kind of like but with a painting, or with my paintings at least, there is some kind of thing I'm thinking about, or something I'm working through, or something I want to talk about in that painting. And I think with my mirrors, that's just like a larger bucket of conceptual ideas. It's like, I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah.
I think that's like
your creative process.
Yeah. I used to be more of a painter. And I designed apparel, I designed jewelry. I hosted a lot of workshops that I designed and developed. And I never felt like any of that was working, except now when I look back on my entire artist career, I always felt like nothing was working, but actually everything was working. So it was just like my interpretation of myself and having extremely narrow ideas of what it meant to like be a successful artist. And so then I felt, I'm not making it as a painter, even though I was. So then I stopped painting for a very long time. And it wasn't until the other art fair when we first met, where I saw like all of these amazing artists like doing amazing things with painting and just all kinds of things. And it just kind of like knocked me on my head, and I was like, the only inhibition here is coming from my own self-imposed ideas. And then I started painting again, and that felt
awesome.
Really good, because I love painting. Painting is my first love. I love painting. It's harder to sell a painting than it is to sell a mirror. So I'm very thankful that I've explored the mirror realm, and I love doing mirrors. They're my favorite thing to make. But I love painting too. I'm a painter, but I just never felt like I was a good enough painter. I don't even know the things that I was telling myself, but I told myself all of these ridiculous things.
Yeah.
And now I'm like overcoming that. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. So this is your painting corner here?
So I kind of paint all over. I don't actually paint on the wall. These are just hung on the wall. I actually paint really crouched, and it's incredibly uncomfortable generally. But I'm trying to paint standing up because it really kills my lower back.
Yeah.
So like this painting I did all standing up, which was kind of important because it didn't really hurt my lower back. This is kind of my Ideation Station.
Ideation Station.
Yeah, this is
I
where
love.
I think about stuff, and I sit at this desk, which I got on Facebook Marketplace for $100.
The standing desk.
Okay, fancy, right? So this is my wall that, when I first moved into the studio, it was like blank walls, and this wall has grown over time.
Yes.
And there's all sorts of things that inspire me or things that I want to eventually do. This is Nikki de St. Fale's Tarot Garden in Tuscany, which I went to in person, and it was just so incredible. And this was her drawing. And then this is her actualizing it. And each one of these sculptures is ginormous. She used to live in the High Priestess. Like, this is her home inside of that. And I love Nikki de St. Fale. She is one of my favorite artists. I have her art books here. And these are all of my art books. Like, I love to flip through art books and to kind of get inspiration from different artists and to learn about different artists and to learn about how they talk about their art or how other people talk about their art. Reading an art book can be very helpful when you're trying to write your own artist statement or your own pitch or to describe the work that you're doing. So I have a bunch of books here at my desk. I have a bunch of books next to my couch over there. And this wall has just kind of grown over time. These are notes that artist Joseph, his name is Joseph Grigley, and I saw his work at Mass Mocha, and he does a lot of work because he's deaf. Yes.
I did a video on Mass Mocha last
Yes.
year, and we did see his work. Super fascinating. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
I'm obsessed with his work. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'll just be like here looking at the wall and I'll see a note that I've never seen before. And then this is a photo. So for a very long time, for like a decade, I had a nonprofit called Ageless Interaction that would go into senior communities and paint with older adults and recreate ideas of aging through art. So how we could catapult just new ideas of aging and how we could bridge the gap between generations. So this was an art class that I held every month for like 2 years with these fabulous women. It was such a beautiful time in my life, and I just love having this there because I did it for a long time and I don't do it anymore. And it's just such a beautiful reminder of the things that you've done.
Yeah.
And so this is really fun. So this is a watercolor piece that I made a couple of years ago, and the Every Woman mirror you will see is that watercolor piece in mirror form. But like I put things on here also that I want to remember to do.
Yeah.
Like this was actually the first iteration of wall jewelry that I made.
Yes. I want to hear more about wall jewelry because that was
Yes.
something new that you've been sharing on your social media,
Yes.
which will be linked below, guys. So make sure you check that out.
Yeah. So this is wall jewelry. So wall jewelry is this idea that I had where I felt like door frames are just so underutilized in the design space. Like we don't really do that much with door frames or window frames. And so I wanted to create something that you could put on your door frame or window or like the edge of a piece of furniture to create a more like artful experience. And so that's what wall jewelry is. It's like jewelry for your walls, jewelry for your edges. And this was one of my first prototypes. So this was like an example. And I make much bigger ones, but I don't have any at the studio right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is another one. And you could like put it here.
I love her.
You could put it here.
Yes.
You could like put, it's really for anything with an edge.
Yeah.
So it's just like a way to jazz up. And I've done all sorts of different kinds of designs. That happens to be a little bit more of like a henna kind of mandala vibe. But yeah, that's what wall jewelry is. So this was like the first iteration of that. I still want to do something like this, but I haven't yet. So that's why this is
This
here.
is your reminder.
And this is my reminder to do like a portal mirror where every layer is portals. And then a lot of these other pieces are pieces that inspire me. I just love to put things on here that I can look at and feel inspired by. This is an amazing artist out of LA. Her name is Palmer, and she does these incredible paintings, and I'm obsessed with her work. This is another artist. I can't remember the name at the moment. Let's try and find out who the name is. This was also something I saw at Max Mocha, but they're these beautiful just sculptures, and like I think she gets all of these pieces from like the dollar store. So it's like this reinterpretation of things that you can like get at the dollar store. Maybe it's Anne Samat. Yes. But I love her work, and I love to be inspired by other artists. So that's what this wall is. And then I just recently went to TFAF, and TFAF is this very elevated, extremely fancy art fair that I want to be in one day.
Yes.
I feel like it was so beautiful and exciting to see. So this is like my manifestation of getting into TFAF. We'll see. Maybe one day.
We'll manifest it. Everyone, send the vibes. Yes.
And yeah, so this is my manifestation station, ideation station. This is where a lot of magic happens. This is where I sit down and, you know, I'm on my laptop here, and I keep all my art books here. I just came back from Spain, so I have an Anthony Gaudi book.
Oh, yes.
So good.
So good.
It's very rare that I'm inspired by male artists, and I'm sorry, but I mean, what to say. So it's like, sorry, not sorry, but I love Isamu Noguchi, also inspired by Bizarre. But you'll see
I just went to the Noguchi Museum.
It's so good.
It's so good.
But you'll see most of my artists, I am inspired by like women artists who were working in symbolism, working in a feminist context. Like Helma Afklint wasn't overtly doing that, but there is so much subtext in her work about spiritualism and and about being a woman. She worked with 5 other women and held seances and created these fantastic paintings. And Judy Chicago is overtly a feminist artist. And, you know, Nikita St. Fale was. So whenever I see an artist that is a man and I'm inspired by, I really cherish that, because I am so much more drawn to, you know, female artists, and I think I resonate more with their work. So when I saw Anthony Gaudi's work, it just blew my mind. I mean, he was a genius.
Yeah, I mean, seeing you there when I saw it online, I was like, it's perfect.
It's perfect. I mean, this like this house, I didn't see this house in person, and I'm so sad that I didn't. But like this, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like this is like perfect.
Yeah.
It's like the textures, the layers, the colors. He really was a gift to this earth. And I'm like, anytime I'm very inspired by somebody's work, I really appreciate that. And I do appreciate it when it's a man, because I think
it's a bit rarer for you.
it is.
Yeah.
I know.
We gotta appreciate rarities.
Yeah. These are like my drawers. This is a lot of my old work. So I used to do a lot of figurative work, as I mentioned before.
Yeah.
And I really moved away from figuration when I really found myself in symbolism. I really felt that I could kind of reinvent and communicate in this expansive way that I didn't feel like I could do with figuration. So this was like very much at the beginning when I was like kind of
the crossover,
existentially confused. A lot of this is like just old stuff, you know, things that I don't know, works in progress from a long time ago, which I don't know what I'm gonna do with these things. And what else? This is where I keep a lot of my supplies. A lot of these are like older paintings, and I am not, you know, I'm not very sentimental about older pieces. Like if I don't like it, I will paint over it. Actually, this painting here was an old painting that I had completely painted over. So this was like acrylic on canvas, and now it's oil on canvas. So you can kind of see the marks here from the old painting. I will paint over it. Not a big deal to me. So I keep a lot of my older work up here because if I think it's terrible, paint over it. You know, if you make bad art, that's okay.
That's a part of the process.
You have to make bad art.
You have to.
Art,
it's facts.
You do. You have to make bad art to make good art. So this is like a lot of storage. These are all of my like markers and brushes and paints. Watercolors are here. This is like a beautiful mason jar that I have that was a gift. And these are all like beautiful sayings from my friends to like support me and to love me.
Oh my gosh, everyone needs that.
Yeah, I was smitten at love at first sight of you. You are so true to yourself, so thoughtful with how you want to show up in the world. So anyway, so whenever I'm feeling sad, I can pick one of these out. And
little motivation jar.
yeah, I can like climb out of the depths of despair. And then these are just leftover pieces that I make my earrings with because I don't want to have any material waste. So I try and use as much of the piece of material, whether it be acrylic or wood, as possible. I really want to use everything on it as I can. So I keep everything in the studio, and I have like a bunch of these drawers, have different, you know, kinds of material here. So before I got into mirrors, and I really found success with mirrors, I did a lot of really fun things in apparel. So like this scarf.
Wow.
This is a beautiful scarf. And so this scarf is like taking one of these that, again, I start here. Yep. I draw freehand, and then I trace. Yep. Then I digitize, and then I did a bunch of like apparel. For a long time, I did apparel, and that was like, when I look back now, I thought it wasn't working, but they're very beautiful pieces.
They're gorgeous.
I know.
Are these silk?
Yes.
Wow.
I know they are. So this is like a bigger one. So I did this for a while. Yeah. I did, and you can really see the difference. So like this was my art a couple years ago, and now we have.
Yeah.
It's so fun to see how much it's changed, and I really feel like I've come into myself as an artist so much more in this new iteration of my work.
Thank you so much for having us in your studio. I loved hearing more about your art practice, seeing your tools, your space, where you've been with your work, and where you're going. Just thank you so very much.
Thank you for coming, Fiona. It was such a privilege to have you in my studio. I like to think about my studio as my safe space. So thank you for coming into my safe space in my studio and being so open to learn about the work.
So you guys can check her out. Everything will be linked below. Check out her shop. Her work is available there. Come see her at other art fair. We'll be doing more fairs together. Hopefully we'll be booth mates. And I will see you guys in the next one. Till then,
Bye.
Stay well and stay inspired. Bye.